Celebrities, all things celebrities. Unusual people. These are creatures of the night. They are functionally illiterate, emotional vampires. They stalk our screens. They're on our computers. They're in our movie theaters. They're on our TV screens. And the nature of celebrity is another fascinating topic for me, for yours truly, because I've dealt with celebrities. I've talked to celebrities. I've known a few really wonderful people, actually. New York celebrities are different than West Coast celebrities, I would say. They're a lot friendlier because this is their life, this is what they are, and we are with them in this microcosm, this multicultural microcosm. But they have like an undue influence on people that are not, I guess, as maybe emotionally savvy as they are. Perhaps not as manipulative. So the stories that pop up about celebrities, this is really something that's always been fascinating to me. Stories are told, biographies are produced, lives are assessed. I was thinking about the actor Robert Reed, who is famously Mike Brady on the Brady Bunch. He had made a guest appearance on Galactica 1980, which was on MeTV the other day. Galactica 1980 was a television show that was quickly put together in place of Battlestar Galactica. NBC, I'm not really sure, or ABC. I'm not. The network canceled Battlestar Galactica, basically because the show was way too expensive, and the advertising revenue that the show was generating wasn't enough to cover, I guess, budgetary costs and the rating, because the ratings weren't as great. It was a very popular show, but the ratings were not as good as it should have been for the kind of money that was being spent, millions of dollars per episode. The most expensive television show being produced at that point. And even then, after that, television shows still took a step backward in their budgeting. So Galactica 80, the network reassessed it. And they decided, okay, we'll bring it back, but let's scale it down a little bit. We'll make a lower budget, even though it was still pretty damned high, lower budget version of the show. We'll call it Galactica 1980. The Battlestar Galactica and all the ships in its charge, this last remnant of their culture, their civilization, finally makes it to Earth, present day, which I guess is 1980. It was made without the assistance of Richard Hatch or Dirk Benedict. Dirk Benedict was unavailable, and Richard Hatch... Well, Dirk Benedict would make an appearance in the final episode of Galactica 1980 at the end of its run. Richard Hatch was not interested because he was worried with all the new developments what would happen to his character. So they went forward into the future, where we have a full-grown and extremely handsome Boxy, who is the Noah Hathaway character, fully grown, with his buddy. They're kind of like a low-rent Apollo and Starbuck. Robert Reed appears in the pilot episodes, or the 2-episode arc of that run, the first 2 episodes, playing a scientist named Dr. Mortensen, who I affectionately refer to as Vigo. And I was thinking about Robert Reed. He's a guy who was closeted. He was a homosexual, and he was another of these actors from that time. You want to talk about maybe the 60s and the 70s, maybe even the 50s. I remember hearing stories about Tommy Kirk, and about how, he was kind of like a teen heartthrob at the time working for Disney movies. And he had press people and agents and managers writing up fake biographies of him, and to indicate that he was straight. But he wasn't. He was also the victim of molestation and certain things like that. Disney caught wind of his homosexuality and cut his contract, so he was forced to do B movies like Catalina Caper for the rest of his career. And then I'm thinking of Dick Sargent, who was the second Darren on Bewitched, also a homosexual. Dick Sargent actually said that they would get girls for him to be near, hold hands with, for photographers, for the paparazzi at the time, just to throw them off the track that he was a closeted homosexual. They invented a biography for him. They gave him a wife, in print only, basically. He's married, or he has a girlfriend, or something like that, or maybe even children. So they would do this because it was practically a crime to be homosexual back then. So he would have to go along with this, and that's just the way it is. So I have to think that this process still goes on. Robert Reed was another one who was given a fake heterosexual life to cover for his homosexuality at the time. Rock Hudson also, when he came out, finally, I think it was in the mid-'80s, he was dying from AIDS or AIDS-related illnesses, and he got up there and he was, friends with Doris Day, and Doris Day, was a very good friend to him at a time when he probably desperately needed her. So I think that celebrities are still doing this. I think that celebrities invent fake biographies for themselves, and that they don't engage in nearly the kind of behavior that they want people to think that they're engaging in. Now, for some reason, Snoop Dogg has a television show on TBS. The Joker's Wild. It's a remake of a popular game show from like the 70s, if I remember correctly. But it's Snoop Dogg doing this. And it's, he's one of these guys that wants you to think he's smoking weed constantly. Who else? Just every celebrity you can imagine under the sun that might be under the age of 50. We're not sure. But then there's also Bill Maher. Bill Maher is another guy who swears he smokes weed all the time. I'm not really sure about that. Woody Harrelson. The thing about marijuana, with me, I've done it a few times. I don't really smoke. The problem is I have to be a responsible person. I have a wife. I have a daughter. I have to pick up my daughter every day from school. I have to make sure my daughter does her homework. I'm not particularly wealthy, so I actually have to do these things. But I enjoy doing them to a certain extent. Every time we walk home from school, there are clusters of teenagers who are getting out of high school, maybe even out of junior high, and they're all smoking up. And the smell of weed is so repugnant. It's a combination, for me, it's a combination of cat urine and skunk spray, and it's the most repugnant smell I could ever think of, and I just don't understand the appeal. When I hung out with friends, they would smoke a lot of weed. I mean, and it wasn't, and the thing about it is, I don't know why. We grew up in an era. I'm a Generation Xer. I'm 45 years old. We grew up in an era where we were told that smoking marijuana would destroy your life. And not only that, but all kinds of drugs, cocaine. Heroin wasn't that big when I was a kid. And painkillers were not that big when I was a kid either. I mean, like pharmaceuticals and things like that. Whatever it was, I did try acid. Maybe twice. The first time really messed me up. The second time, nothing. I think it was a fake batch of it or whatever. But so I was always around people who were smoking weed constantly, and it seemed like they wanted it all the time. It's not like it was like a once in a while, occasional recreational, hey, why don't we get high, huh? Something like that. I made a mistake one time. I was shooting a movie. Which one was it? I think it might have been... No, it wasn't Vortex. It was They Only Come Out at Night. One of my crew comes in with some weed and is like, "Hey, you want some?" And I'm like, "Yeah, And then I'm with my friend Nina, who's also on my crew, and we just smoke up together. And it was the stupidest thing. And this is why I never do it again. And I'll never drink again, actually. I'll never drink again shooting a movie. But me and Nina were trying to get a tripod through the door. And we were just giggling. And it took us 10, maybe 15 minutes to figure out how to get the tripod through the door because for some reason we couldn't fit it through. And the reason why is because all the legs were out. And we didn't fold them back in. And we were just giggling over this whole thing. I mean, that was really some fucked up weed. That was like... That was ridiculous. And I said, never again, never again, never again. And I think I said it to Nina, and I think she agreed with me. I hope to God she did, because otherwise she's still giggling, even now. But the thing about it is, I don't understand when people are telling me that it's not addictive and it's one of the healthiest things for your body. I still have friends to this day. They quit smoking, and they were, actual smokers. Sorry, the heat just clicked on for some reason. The water boiler. They were career smokers, career cigarette smokers, and then they said, "Oh, I quit. Now I just smoke weed." I'm like, "Why do you smoke weed? It's just as bad for you." And they're like, No. It doesn't have any carcinogens. It's completely clear and clean, and it's good for you. It's better for you, and it's got healing properties. It can cure cancer, all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, what? Really? Where are you getting this from? Or are you just using this as a justification for your weed smoking? I'm like, what? Why do you feel you need that? So it's always been in my head as a Generation Xer that if you smoke weed, you have severe emotional problems. You need to escape from your life. You need to get high. If you need to get high, you need to escape. That's you trying to get away from your life and live in some kind of a fantasy that's being stimulated by the experience. And I'm thinking about celebrities. Why are they pushing this on us now? Why are we suddenly getting this kind of like thing like you're a loser if you don't smoke weed? When I was a kid, you were a loser if you smoked weed. You were a loser if you took that puff. It's going to ruin your life. It's going to destroy your life. I have more than a few friends who have probably done a lot more drugs than they should have and realize that and don't do them anymore. There's a reason for that. I've never known anybody to just say, you know what, I'm not going to smoke weed for a week. I'm not going to. No, these people smoke it every fucking day when they can get their hands on it. They'll steal money out of their mother's purses to buy weed. That's what they did, A lot of them anyway, not everyone. A lot of the parents were just kind of blissfully ignorant to it. Pretended they didn't smell it in their hair. That smell goes everywhere. So these celebrities now, it's like they make fun of Nancy Reagan, of course. There's nothing wrong with making fun of Nancy Reagan. But what they do now is they try. I think it's dangerous too. Like Bill Maher especially, he's not a parent. Bill Maher is a useless human being because he's not married and he's not having children and he has no need or desire for it. So he has nothing to offer the world. He has no obligations, no real responsibilities. He could drop tomorrow. As Louis C.K. would say, his mother will cry, but everyone else won't give a shit. So him espousing on the idea of it's okay to get high is reckless and irresponsible because not everyone else is destined for his life. Not everyone else is destined to kind of live this pampered, privileged life of he got to go to Cornell, he became a stand-up comedian, he appeared in some movies, he dates porn stars, and he's a vegan or whatever, and on the board of PETA, and here he is smoking weed. He's going, whatever he is, he's an irresponsible person in that way. Perhaps it's good that he doesn't have children, if that's the case. But I digress. So I see that certain celebrities have an image, and musicians mainly, they want the world to think that they're badasses. They want the world to think that they're reckless and irresponsible and engage in criminal-like behavior. You could think a lot of things about certain types of people, but a lot of that is just misinformation. It's being thrust in our face. It's the media creating stories about people. But the thing is, it's antithetical to the process of a musician. I can't imagine trying to play a piano or a guitar high. I can't imagine performing high. What I can imagine is an incredibly lonely life. The lonely life of a celebrity because they have no real friends. All they have are hangers-on who treat them like cash machines. Hey, the boiler stopped. How about that? That's nice. So, I believe that a lot of what we read about celebrities are lies. Just complete, utter bullshit, very much in the vein of a Robert Reed or Dick Sargent, with publicists round the clock trying to convince us that they're straight when they're not. I can understand that was their livelihood. That was what they were being paid for. And it was a crime to be homosexual. For many years on the books, you had indecency laws in places like San Francisco, in places like New York. So you would see these bathhouses crop up. And this is the one place you knew bathhouse was kind of a code. It was a code for homosexuals to be in a place where they wouldn't be persecuted, until there were raids, of course, because somebody would be tipped off or become an informant. And those people are douchebags, and they should probably be punished for that. And so because of that closed, insular homosexual community that cropped up in the 60s and the 70s, you saw a spread of illness. And the illness went unchecked for many years because people feared repercussions from being outed or outing others as a result of it. So there was a purpose to that kind of subterfuge for that time. What I see is no purpose for trying to get what I see. What I see is trying to hook the public on drugs in some capacity. And I made this prediction a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, I'm not really sure, because of all the pro-drug arguments that were being passed back and forth. And then realizing just how dangerous FDA-approved pharmaceuticals could be, I predicted that all drugs would be legal in 10 years. And I'm talking everything under the sun. Marijuana, cocaine, heroin, various strips of morphine, all the pharmaceuticals, and just everything legal, because I believe that the government's ultimate goal is to stay in business. And how they're going to stay in business is to legalize drugs. This is already happening. We're seeing it all across the country. And then to regulate, tax, make money. And it seems to be going swimmingly well for places like Colorado and Washington State. But then that's not enough. It's going to be about a tranquilized public, a public that's not going to argue so much with you. So, if you have sober individuals there with legitimate complaints, then they can't be shouted down, and you can't find anybody to accuse them of sexual harassment, because that seems to be the way they're destroying people's reputations now. Right now, what we're living in. What you need to do is get them high and happy, and then they can live in their hovels as they fall apart, and the efficiency goes down the drain. And I think celebrities are taking an active part in this by trumpeting the virtues, the benefits of smoking weed or doing anything. It's strange. It's strange because it's a heretical yet puritanical society. The puritanical aspect of it being that you're not allowed to say certain things anymore. And if people are going to become so depressed because they can't say things anymore, they're just going to want to get high and smoke their troubles away. And the thing is, the pro-marijuana agenda is always telling us there are no adverse effects to it. And I'm like, it makes you high. That's kind of an adverse effect. I always thought that the best argument I ever saw was on South Park. It's like, I don't have a problem with the smoking of the weed, okay? But I'm not sure if it's Randy's father. He doesn't want to directly confront his child about marijuana usage or something like that. But Randy says that it makes you comfortable with being bored. And you're just sitting around you're not doing anything. You're not learning a new skill. You're not learning a hobby. You're not doing anything like that. But, that's the only logical or sound argument I think I've heard. I would wrap this up by saying that I think that people like it's going to sound crazy, but I think that people like Snoop Dogg and all these people, Jack White, another one. The White Stripes made an appearance a long time ago, obviously, back when the band was still working, on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And they were being interviewed by Jon Stewart, and they were looking very awkward and everything. And Jon Stewart makes a reference to smoking weed. How much weed do you smoke? Do you smoke a lot of weed? And it's like, I don't know. You're trying to normalize the kind of behavior, in a way. You're trying to make it palatable. And now that I'm seeing kids on the street smoking weed, now that sometimes the people are smoking it and it's wafting up into my apartment, I can smell it coming in through the kitchen window. This is not the life that I remember when I was a kid. Nobody smoked weed or didn't want anyone to know that they smoked weed. Now, people are proud of this, and I'm like, what are you proud of? Again, the programming clicks in, and I just say, there's a lot of depressed people out there with a lot of stress in their lives, and they need to alleviate that tension. And it's not anything that I would want my daughter to do. And I knew a few actors who smoked a lot of weed and got so fucked up. I remember one time I was working on a film a few years back, and not only did my actors smoke weed, one of my leading men smoked weed, and the owner of the property smoked weed. But he had, I don't know, there's a lot of people who say, well, I have trouble, I have headaches, I have muscular pains, so I'm going to smoke a shitload and just get high. Apparently, that's some kind of medical treatment, is to just get fucked up. I can understand how it eases the horrible pain that people who have cancer, that's fine, yeah. And also, I mean, the people who don't have an appetite and just eat themselves, their insides eat everything. And they die from the malnourishment that chemotherapy can cause, that the marijuana gives them an appetite again, and they can eat something like that. That's fine. But the hipster douchebags with the goofy laughs and everything, talking about, oh, we gotta, I'm gonna be there to make sure that weed gets legalized because I think it's very important for people to be able to smoke it, and especially when they have chronic pain and everything. And then they go, it's just that's hilarious. Number one, that's hilarious. Number two, it says more about the user than it does about any symptom that they might have. But this actor that I was trying to give him direction. I was like, okay, I need you to come into the room, and you're going to say your line here, hit this mark over here, we'll get you in a nice clip. He's just staring at me like he's completely fucked up. He is gone. And I'm like, okay, let's take 5 minutes. I'm going to go get some air, because this is pissing me off trying to direct a guy who's high. And it's just, oh man, I don't understand. I don't get it. I've experimented. I've dabbled. I tried cocaine. I mean, you know what cocaine did for me? It didn't make me feel good. It made me want to clean. There was this girl I was spending time with in her apartment. Her apartment was a fucking mess. She digs into her roommate's stash of cocaine, and we both take a couple of toots. And I'm like, I'll try it. I'll try anything once, You know me. A little cocaine here, a little anal sex there. Anyway, I snort this stuff up. It gives me a burst of energy, and I can't do anything. The only thing I can do is get up and clean. So I start cleaning her apartment, and I don't stop. I just clean this apartment. It's great. That's what cocaine should be used for. It should be given to housekeepers. It should be given to, I don't know. There was an episode of Family Ties where Michael J. Fox is studying to get into college or something like that, and he's trying to do all this study, prepare for these tests or something, and he gets it into his head, oh, what the hell, I'll try speed, So he's doing speed, and the parents are oblivious. They're like, wow, our floors have never been cleaner, and then I guess he gets the drop or something, he crashes, and he totally missed his test, and he's under a lot of pressure. I can understand that too. But so, I guess Stephen and Elise nail some common sense into his head. So, you know, it was a very special episode, as we know. There was also Tom Hanks, who appeared on a couple of episodes as Ned, I believe, which is, I believe, Elise's brother. And he winds up having an alcohol problem. And he drinks all the maraschino cherries and all the vanilla extract, and there's no booze left in the house, and he's going fucking nuts or something like that. God, I love Family Ties. It was so great because you knew the serious episodes were the ones that were for Emmy consideration. Well, that'll about do it for this episode, and I want you to consider Emmy consideration for my podcast. Thank you very much. This is a marathon session that I'm doing here. This is the third episode I've recorded. How about that? So, anyway, don't listen to celebrities. They're stupid. They're no smarter than you. They just got lucky. They figured out a way to make money. And damn it, that's the only lesson you need to take away from that. Have a good night. I'm David Lawler, and this has been my show. Bye-bye. And where's my outro music? There it is. Good night.